You guys have probably seen this TikTok go viral about a week ago or something like that, but I think it's still relevant. Well, at least, you know what, I'm going to do a video on it, so goddammit, it's going to be relevant right now, at least for the confines of this conversation. Now, there was a couple of responses I seen to this when I was first looking at it, and obviously we can let it run here for a second. It's, just, okay, so yeah, you got this chick here who, sees what could ultimately be happening in the future if she decides to get married. There's presumably a guy or somebody with a well manicured hand, which obviously we're going to break down everything else that everybody's talked about this video here going forward, but holding up a little wedding ring. She decides to put her ring finger into it, engagement ring. I know all the proper terminology, but she puts her finger in there and she starts to see all the horrors of what could ultimately end up happening. And she puts it on, and all of a sudden, she just becomes a slave to housekeeping. Well, what else? She's going to end up constantly having to wash a very luxurious living room or something like that. It's okay, or cooking, folding clothes. Okay, all while what? Just wearing pajamas all day long, wearing slippers. Okay, mopping a floor, looking after her own child. Okay, so deciding that's not ultimately what she wants, right? She wants a little ring. The ring inspires a promise of a future, and she could be a strong, independent boss babe, but then at the same time also have a partner to live the rest of her life with. But when you realize that, oh my god, the rest of your life is going to be required to give it all up, and that, she would just have to live in perhaps China or something like that, because the more you look at this video, the more you start to realize that not a lot of Westerners, even though it is fairly common to have foreign influences in your fashion sense, but in all of your clothing that has recognizable characters on it, it's Mandarin, it's some sort of foreign language. Interesting. And then you can also take a look in the background and realize that, that doesn't really look like terribly Western architecture. But then you have this obviously white looking girl. Interesting, what exactly is going on here? And then from also a very prestigious TikTok account, which is also kind of weird how viral this video ultimately ended up going, Funny Vlogs 89. All right, something's got to be going up here. And then also you take a look ahead as well, and then it starts to show the discrepancy between just kind of the dilapidated looking kitchen. And I also understand that it is possible that you end up getting some sort of not entirely renovated homes, at least all up to the same specs. But okay, cool, so you just look forward again, but then you take a look, and there you have a reverse image of that. And then you have outside of Detroit, you don't really see too many bars on windows, or there's your Chinese letters that are on there, or symbols. And it becomes exceptionally striking with the Asian picture in the background and the green there. You can't see my cursor on it, but it's right there. And then also again, you kind of see the contrasting fashion that's not exactly normally a Western custom, but then you start to run it back and realize that, the trend on TikTok, pretty crazy how mass adopted the psyops are. And then our bro just kind of breaks it down a little bit further. Okay, getting some information and proof that this is actually a Chinese-backed psyop. Yeah, because when I first seen this broken down about a week ago, I think, people were saying, that's an AI-generated face. That's a Chinese actress, bro, and she's just using a white face app, and that's why everybody's getting sucked in. It's like, no, it's probably just an actress in China, and it's just using TikTok, which is notorious for its propaganda, to just go ahead and further deteriorate the nuclear family. And the reason why it went viral, even though that I'm sure it was helped and promoted by different algorithms, most specifically TikTok's very nefarious one that is exceptionally easily manipulatable, it made its way around and everybody's seen it because it's very believable that you would have something so obviously anti-family, anti-marriage, male and female relationships. Like, it doesn't look too dissimilar than every other reasonably produced feminist TikTok that's out there. So that's why it just looked like, hey, it was just going to go ahead and slide by. Sure, it was probably a little step or a little incremental advancement in the anti-marriage agenda, but nothing out of the ordinary. But then when you start to break it down, well, search for it and begin to see it's reposted by Chinese bots. The buildings look Chinese, as do the people in the background. Next question, why? Yeah, exactly. And there's another picture, yes, at the 10-second mark, which showed as well. Some are saying that this woman is in China, is actually a Chinese woman that is using some AI to make herself white in a psyop of Westerners. Yeah, no. It's very likely she's Ukrainian, according to some of the sources, and is acting as what is being called a white monkey, a person for hire, which, yeah, there you can see other TikToks, or at least on the Chinese version of TikTok. I don't quite know exactly what that's called, but as you can see, it's a fairly common practice. Pretty crazy how people thought that she was a Chinese woman, could be used as a deepfake AI face cover. That's why I just thought, some of these trad cocks, or cucks rather, they were just kind of coping, but it still stands to reason that it's still a psyop. While you might have got one aspect wrong, the underlying message still does hold true. And like this article breaks it down, a Gen Z shouldn't dismiss marriage so lightly, because yeah, we're seeing marriage rates, justifiably so, because what is in it for modern men, especially when you take a look at the modern women and you realize that it's not exactly the same caliber of woman that your grandfather or your great-grandfather, hell, even your great-great-grandfather was getting. So why would I lock down something that the company or that the community's already gotten for free? It doesn't really seem like a win-win aspect when you just offer up half of your assets and all she has to do is just wake up one morning and go, I don't really feel like being married anymore. Deuces, I get the kids, the house, and you just get to work overtime for me. Yeah, it doesn't really seem all that fair, all that enticing. But then again, as somebody who's going to seem, I guess, a little bit contradictory, a little bit hypocritical, and saying that, well, the best course of action forward for any functional society is a healthy nuclear relationship. Do I think that marriage is a worthwhile institute anymore? Somebody who comes from a family whose parents are, hey, still together, don't want to wish any bad luck or bad messages into the world. You also have to think, when my parents got together, they've been together since some time in the 80s. They have been married for over 30 years at this point. They are, in what today's day and age is, an absolute anomaly, and thankfully they raised me to be a good, upstanding individual, and I couldn't dream of better parents. But their situation that they were brought up in, and that my father courted my mother in, that's just not accessible to me as a man in 2023. So yeah, you got to be smarter. You've got to be far more aware, and as everything is becoming modernized, as much as Hollywood wants to tell you that everything needs to be updated for modern sensibilities, you also have to recognize and realize that, well, these chicks, they're definitely updated for modern society and fully taking advantage of everything at their disposal. So guys, you got to wisen up. Otherwise, you're just going to be chewed up and spit out by the system. That'll ultimately land you with a broken sense of self-worth, hooking up with a single mom, a fat chick, or hell, down that lonely road of coping by saying, oh, I'm MGTOW, when realistically you're not exactly a economically or physically attractive option for any of the women that are out there. The video that has been racking up millions of views shows a Generation Z woman seeming to accept a marriage proposal before switching to a series of shorts showing the same woman toiling away in domestic drudgery, washing dishes, caring for a newborn baby, and cleaning the house, which, yeah, everything's all taken care of. That's your half of the relationship. Meanwhile, obviously, the theoretical husband in this is also slaving away for multiple hours every single day. Now realizing that this is, in fact, give and take. And what is she giving up? Well, oh my God, she can no longer be a number at a corporation. It's so weird the way that feminism has ultimately worked out. I can be a strong, independent boss bitch. I don't need no man, okay? I don't need a man who loves me or anything like that. Fuck that. I can go ahead and I can go work for a soulless corporation that doesn't give a shit about me. That's independence, ladies. The clip ends with the woman rejecting the proposal, daunted by the future life of domestic servitude that had just flashed before her eyes. This is simply one addition to a long line of recent memes that deride marriage and motherhood, a trend that plays into the popular narrative. But is all this negative coverage of marriage and motherhood primarily emanating from academics? Yeah, exactly. Journalists and online influencers, an active reflection of reality? The answer is no. Oh, really? Because you can take a look at the marriage statistics. Oh, guys, don't worry, though. Divorces are down. Yeah, it's because nobody's getting fucking married anymore, okay? The truth about marriage and motherhood couldn't be clearer. More counterculture. Okay, they're just talking about, no, actually people that enter into healthy, happy relationships who understand that gender roles are there and are endemic to society is because they are successful. They create happy, lasting relationships, and that you don't have to go ahead and subvert every single cultural norm. Guess what? Everything that has ever been thought of has already been thought of. We are pretty much living in a time where everything has been discovered for the most part. You're not going to think up anything new that's going to go ahead and reinvent the way that men and women get together. And your new flash in the pan ideas of having open relationships and it really doesn't much matter. Basically reducing a monogamous relationship to fucking roommates. Like, for most people, monogamy is the end goal. Both men and women. It's just the overinflated sense of self-worth from women think that they can go ahead and have it all because this is the point in time when we're starting to reconcile with the reality that we have finally, for the first time, generations of women being raised by broken women who were raised by broken women who have never seen a generation before or after grow up in a successful, happy relationship. This is the first time. Like, we're dealing with mostly the kids coming of age, the 18, 19, and 20-year-olds being raised by Gen X parents. And Gen X parents who were raised by boomers who started off in 1964 with the sexual revolution, starting to deviate out of the relationships when they realized that, yeah, women deserve to go into the workforce. Women can go ahead and adopt a whole bunch of debt and they can just go and live independent, strong lives for themselves. Not realizing that, yeah, guys kind of do that reluctantly. And the only reason why they do it day in and day out without fitting a Smith & Wesson as a brand new brace or retainer for their mouth is because they had a loving wife and family to go home to. It's because they had a reason to go to work. And now these chicks, well, they go to work so that they can buy shoes and bags and boxes of wine and new litter for their cats. That's why they are overwhelmingly sad, depressed on a handful of pills, running through casual sex partner after casual sex partner, not really seeing the light at the end of the tunnel until they decide to put themselves in front of the light at the end of the tunnel. When in actuality, all of their new wave ideas, well, they were already solved by old order solutions. Married women with children are actually happier than their single and childless counterparts, despite the prevailing narrative to the contrary. Drawing on data from America's premier social barometer, the 2022 General Survey Study. Oh, good. They actually came forward with that. 40% of married women between the ages of 18 to 55 with children reported being very happy with their lives, compared to 22% of unmarried women with no children and 17% of single mothers. Well, yeah, single mothers are just absolutely fucking else. But married with no children at 25%. Like, basically, married women who are married, they're going to be the most happy. Okay, unmarried women, yeah, 22% of the time. Well, it all depends if the Zoloft kicks in. What's more, women with children are actually better off financially than their childless peers. You don't fucking say. When you have a guy who can go ahead and have his tertiary concerns taken care of by a loving wife, that, yeah, he can become more optimal at his chosen vocation, either through his 9-to-5 job or through his side hustles. You're going to be better off financially. Imagine that. Married mothers, 18 to 55, have an average household income of $133,000 compared to the $79,000 for the childless single peers. Hold up, 18 to 55-year-old women are making $79,000 a year? Holy shit, why aren't the equality people out there, just yelling from the rooftops, given the fact that the average man makes between the average salary is 37 to 50K, depending on the state that you live in the United States? Why is nobody complaining about that? Interesting. We also have new research that finds that marriage in the most important differentiator in who is happy in America. Falling marriage rates, meanwhile, is the chief reason why happiness has declined nationally, according to the study. Yeah, okay, I would say that would be quite a leap. That's right there. But yeah, man, in the lowest recorded marriage rates in history, not just in the past few decades, not just in the past couple of generations, ever. Lowest number of married people. I wonder if they have the exact numbers, but I knew that it's like a dozen per thousand. Like, it's nobody's getting married anymore for, hey man, very good reasons, because what is actually in it? What can a guy get in a committed married relationship that he can't just get in a long-term committed relationship? Fucking nothing, dude. Like, there is no tangible benefit. So yeah, if you want to have a successful long-term relationship and you want to have something down in writing, go do it at a church. Go do it at a religious institution. Outside of that, no benefit at all whatsoever. Oh, but you get tax benefits. That is vastly overshadowed by the amount of risk that you're putting up, especially thanks to no-fault divorce. Reagan, such a good patriot after all. Fuck him. His fucking mind must have went when he signed that nationally. But yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair at all. All of this runs counter to the cultural messaging that is decided anti-nuptial and anti-natalist. But the data tells us that married couples are happier and more prosperous than their unmarried counterparts. Yeah. That's always been the statement, and that's always been the facts. Young people deserve to know the truth. A future that includes marriage and children is, on balance, a happier one. It turns out that building a life around your family is linked to dramatically higher rates of happiness for men and women. You don't really know about the men part, but for the women, that's definitely the number. And again, that's the only thing that the social sciences actually care about. And that's why whenever you get into some RP topics, I don't believe those guys are just, who hurt you? And all the other stupid boilerplate semantics that they want to throw in our direction. And it's like, who's going to fund the studies about these chicks today being generally repulsive with the high number of body counts being unable to pair bond? Who's going to fund those studies? No, exactly. The data has to be anecdotal. It has to be collected by a bunch of guys in disparate areas coming together and assessing their findings, because nobody's going to run a study. Hey guys, if you have children and you get married, are you happier? No, when society also reinforces, oh, it's cheaper to keep her, happy wife, happy life. Meanwhile, most guys in general live silent lives of desperation. That's why I am so hard on everybody. Make sure that you're the best version of yourself so that you don't have to be under the heel of some chick who just overinflates her sense of being, and that she doesn't shame you into some terrible life-ruining relationship or traps you or does anything like that. Know your worth, vet your chicks, and constantly keep improving. So whenever she looks at you crossways, you can just tell her to get the fuck out. That's what I want for everybody who hears my message out there. Put in the work so that you can demand the best, not just be a chick and just think just by the virtue of you living and breathing that you deserve the best. You're a guy, you have a burden of performance. Now fucking live up to it. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.